Episode 2 of Populate the Palace is coming up next. Hey Star Wars fans, welcome back to another video from All Things Star Wars Considered. I'm your host Doug, and today we get into Episode 2 of Populate the Palace. I'm pretty happy with how the first episode went. I'm very organized, or at least I am trying to be organized, because like I say, I always watch the videos back afterwards to see what I can improve on. You know, if you're not trying to improve, you're just staying stagnant. So I always want the channel to improve. So I kind of look and see what mistakes I'm making, or at least what mistakes I think I'm making, and then I try to work on that and correct them. The good thing is I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people like my style. Sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but then I get all you guys out there saying that they love the flow of things. They love how I'm doing things. So it kind of confirms that what I'm doing is working. So I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep trying to improve. But we're going to get into episode 2. So stay tuned. That's coming up next. Okay, like I said, I'm going to keep things organized. So in this video, this particular one, episode 2, I'm going to focus on all our heroes. And because there's only, I think I counted, it was only like 8 heroes, just to fill up a couple of extra spots, I'm going to do all the droids. So this video will center around heroes and droids. So that's coming up next. Okay, now I said I'm going to be as organized about this as I can. So I'm going to try to do this in somewhat of an order. So obviously, when we first walk into Jabba's palace, the first heroes that walk in are obviously R2 and 3PO. Now, when it comes to this populating the palace, there's multiple figures that can be used for some of these characters. Now, obviously, R2 and 3PO walk in first. I'm going to use this particular R2-D2. Now, obviously, he's got the drink tray. This was a vintage collection R2, but he was also available in an earlier run. But this figure is still readily available. I think it was available on a Saga card with the gold stripe up it. And it was Return of the Jedi one. Now, this is a cool figure. Now, I've got this one on my barge, but obviously you remove the drink tray, and, you can pop him right in there, with his message to Jabba. Now, obviously, same thing with C-3PO. Now, I'm using this C-3PO. This one is kind of gimmicky. He's got that pop-out eye thing. You pop this thing through. It's kind of weird. It's not even working because it's been... I don't know. It's this, you just get this weird thing in the back, and that's supposed to pop his eye out later on the barge when Salacious Crumb is trying to eat his eye out. But I like this one. I know it's gimmicky, but I put him on Jabba's days afterwards when he is Jabba's translator. And I like that he's got the green on the hand, and he's got the green on the side of his head when Jabba whacks him. So I usually kind of just put Jabba's hand, like hitting him in the chest, because he's got the little green in the chest as well. But you can use any 3PO. You can use the Vintage Collection one, the original one. I mean, any 3PO. But this is the one that I use, at least for the palace. Right? So, if you don't want to use this R2, by the way, and I just remembered that they just came out with, or... not came out with, I mean, it's already been released. They came out with Vintage Collection R2. This is out on the market right now. You could walk into Walmart or Target. I actually picked this up at GameStop. So I just picked this up like a week ago. So if you want to go with this R2, you could do that. I mean, he's available on the pegs right now for $16.99. If not, you can go with any R2, or like I said, the R2 that has the drink tray, and just remove the drink tray. Now, obviously, they have a holographic Luke Skywalker. That one, I believe, was Saga. It could be Legacy. I don't know. I don't like it, so I'm not using it. So I've used the lightsaber construction Luke. That was Vintage Collection. That was, I think they called it Deleted Scenes Luke, where he's putting the lightsaber into R2. That's the one I use. If you don't like that one, this one's a little bit better. This is vintage collection. They're both vintage collection, but this is the most current version of Luke Skywalker. I actually use this one in my palace. Not my palace. In my excuse me, sorry about that. I actually use this one in my Death Star 2 Emperor's Throne Room Final Duel. So, but in any event, most of these Lukes can work. Even the one that's holographic. He's kind of translucent. Kind of looks too gimmicky for my liking. So, whichever you think. Okay, then after that, they try to bargain for, Solo's release. Jabba laughs. R2 becomes his bartender. 3PO becomes his translator. And, okay, we need to go into Act 2 or Plan B. So in comes Princess Leia Bosch. And I don't remember which one this one is. I think this one could be Saga as well. It's been released about 10 different times. It originally came out on Shadows of the Empire. Is it Shadows of the... Yeah, Shadows of the Empire. That one wasn't a very good figure. Then they came out with this one. I actually like this one. It's got a good head sculpt. I think Leia looks pretty good. This is also available in the vintage collection. So there's a ton of iterations of this figure, and they're all available. Some are going to cost you a little more than others, but in any event, this one I actually like because it actually has the removable thermal detonator in her hand. I'm not going to pop it out because then I might lose it. It's already fallen out once. I might have even glued it in place. But in any event, that's the Bosch I'm using. This Chewbacca is actually custom. They originally came out with Chewie and Chains. It might have been called Bosch's Bounty or something like that. I didn't care for the figure itself. I liked the head sculpt. So what I did is I took a New Hope or Return of the Jedi Chewbacca, and I did a boil and pop, and I popped his head on there. So he's still got the chain on him, as you can see right here. But I just put the Bosch's Bounty head on it because that figure's not good. It's way underscaled. When I had these two side by side, she was almost the same height as him. So I had to remedy that. So I've got the taller Chewbacca body and the Bosch's Bounty head. But there's multiples out there that you can use for Chewbacca. But in any event, that's the ones I chose. So let's kind of stand them down there. Now, later on, she comes after hours and rescues him. And sorry about that, Luke fell. She comes later and tries to rescue him. He comes out of the carbonite. And you can see it there. And then you can use a variety of Han Solos. This one, I believe, is the one that came with the carbonite block. But there's several that can be used. This is the one I use, and you can see his hands are behind his back. I actually pulled him off one of my skiffs. He was on the prisoner's skiff, and they're not spectacular, but these aren't too bad. So this is the Solo I use. Now, after that, obviously Leia is led to Jabba. Bring her to me. We have powerful friends. You're going to regret this. So. Yeah, he's like, I'm sure. But for now, I'm going to have my way with you type of deal. Now, my friend Tim, who's one of my subscribers, asked if I was going to mention Princess Leia Slave. Now, I had Leia on my list, but I didn't have it specific. Bosch, Slave Leia, it just said Princess Leia. Well, there's two versions. So obviously, she comes up as, Bosch. But then later on, she becomes Slave Leia. Now, this is the vintage collection Slave Leia. She was also available on Legacy. And the Legacy one, she actually came with a second set of legs that you could remove from the lower torso. And it was just like a molded piece of plastic where she's actually laying down. So you could actually have her laying at Jabba's side. This one I actually chose to just keep her legs on her. And I think this particular version is on my barge. But this is a great figure. Unfortunately, it's going to cost you some money. My buddy George picked this up last year or the year before on Vintage Collection. He got it on the Revenge of the Jedi card back, and he paid a couple of $100. This is not a cheap figure. And with Hasbro dragging their feet on re-releasing this because they're being all PC, this one's going to be tough to come by. But again, she is available on Vintage Collection, and she is available on the Legacy one, I believe. So we got a couple more to go, and then we'll wrap this segment up. You see how easy it is to forget things? Even with a list, sometimes you kind of forget. I had a list, I went into the palace, and I started pulling out all the figures, and I bypassed Lando Calrissian. Now, obviously, he's got the skiff guard disguise on, so sometimes you're looking for heroes, you're looking for Han, Chewie, R2, 3PO, and you just browse right past them. So, but let's not forget about Lando. So Lando, this one, I don't think this is Vintage Collection. I think this one might be Legacy. There's quite a few. But the last one was a Walmart exclusive, and it was on the Vintage Collection card back, and he was pretty cheap. I remember going in to Walmart and picking him up for less than retail. They had clearanced him off. So it's a really good likeness. It's a great figure, and, we got to add him to your palace. Can't have Jabba's palace without Lando. Okay, so now let's get into some of the droids. Okay, we have 8D8. Now, obviously, the Jabba's playset Vintage Collection that's en route to the United States from overseas will come with a carded 8D8. Now, if you don't want to open them up, you can pick up the Power of the Force 2. Now, this isn't a great figure, but it's not an awful figure. And the nice thing about this one is it came with the Droid torture device. Let me see if I can bring that into frame. So, you can literally stand him up and, have him working that, and you've got the branding thing there. And so I would just stand him there and, he would do his thing. So let's kind of get him in the frame so you can kind of see that. But, yeah, it's not great. It's got this little feature on the top part of the head where you got some yellow translucent thing that takes in light, and his eyes kind of shine. It was like what they did with the Jawas. You had that little clear piece of plastic on the top of the Jawa's hood, and then that would make their eyes shine. Not a great feature, but, they were trying at least. Okay, so if you think that figure's bad, and I don't think it's all that bad, and they're coming out with Vintage Collection on that, so here's what really needs to be touched upon, and this is EV99. Now, this figure is bad. I mean, I think the Vintage Kenner one might be better than this one, but the only good thing is he came with his little, control panel, so, you could have him stand there and kind of do his thing. Let's get him in the frame so you can actually see him. But yeah, there's EV99. So you've got half of your torture droids, right? Now, if you have two droids torturing, you need droids to torture. So I have this power droid. This came, I believe, with the Jawa. It was a Jawa Gonk Droid 2-pack. This is going back quite a few years. So I usually just flip him upside down and have our good buddy 8D8 torturing him. Now there's one other droid that needs to be tortured, and that's 21B. So 21B, I use the Power of the Force 2, and this is a dreadful figure. If you want a slightly better 21B, I would advise maybe grabbing the Revenge of the Sith one. It's a little bit more articulated, a little bit better sculpt, but it's more specific to Revenge of the Sith. This one is at least specific to The Empire Strikes Back, and then as such, I just created this torture device, and I have him there getting tortured right behind EV99. So, there is one additional droid, and that's CZ4, and I'll try to incorporate him into a future video, but unfortunately, I have him in the torture room, and I didn't want to break him, so I embedded him into the floor system, so you can only see him from the waist up because that's how he was. And I tried and I couldn't get him out. So I have not forgot about CZ4. But at some point I will try to pry him out of there or get a second one so I can show you that figure. But that would be another droid that you could add to your Jabba's palace. So that'll do it for this segment, and I will try to come up with a system for episode 3. Okay, I felt bad because I mentioned CZ4 but didn't show him. So rather than try to pull him out, I figured I'd just show you how he sits in this display. So here's your R2 and 3PO. They're being interrogated by EV-99. ATH in the foreground, torturing the power droid. In the background, here's 2-1B being tortured. And if you kind of look over in the corner, there's CZ4. He's not, very noticeable, but he's right where he's supposed to be, right near that back door. And rather than break him, because that's what initially I was going to do, I actually just embedded him into the floor system so that I could preserve the figure and display him the way he was. He just was kind of like all crumbled up in the corner. So thanks for watching, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's going to take probably a good 4 videos to get this done. So we're 2 in. I think with 2 more videos, I think we'll get the whole thing done. If things go smoothly in the next one, maybe I can bang it out in 3. But I want to take my time. I want to do this right. And I don't want to inundate people with 25-minute videos every time. I'd like to be able to do this in 14, 15-minute segments so that people can kind of get in, get out, and not feel like, oh my God, here he goes again with another 25-minute video. I don't have time for this. It's summer. I'm trying to enjoy my life. So let's see. We'll see how things go for the next one. But before we wrap things up, I want to remind everybody that if you haven't done so, I ask you to hit the subscribe button so I can continue to bring you that valuable Star Wars content we've all come to know and love. If you like what you see, give the video a like. I always say that helps the channel as well. If you have a question or a comment, you have some input, maybe something I missed, please leave that in the comment section. I'm going to get back to each and every one of you. Want to wish everybody a great day. Thank everybody for watching, and we will see you on the next video. And as always, may the Force be with you. Boshuda. Oh, 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 oh.